Happy October 10th, 10/10/23. It's a Tuesday. I'm going to think it's a Monday, but I haven't made a video since last Thursday. Well, I mean, I was on Blind Dave's Hash It Out and Lisa's YouTube happy hour show. But right here in the DigiByte, it's been since Thursday, and nothing's happened since then. It's been a nice, quiet, peaceful 4-day reprieve. Wrong. No, we had a breakout of war in the Middle East, and a lot of emotional. Everybody's whipped up into an emotion. Everybody's, got their feelings boiling over, upset, level this, destroy that, kill these people, kill those people. When all else fails, take them to war. It's like, blame it on Ukraine. So there's all kinds of tie-ins to this whole madness that's going on in the Middle East, which has been going on for quite a long time, generations, well, centuries, millennia, if you will. This stuff's been happening forever over there. All right, so apparently most well-protected country on earth, Iron Dome 1, 2, David Slingshot, Daniel Slingshot, I don't even know what it is, Wrath of Abraham, all these things that they have in place to protect the skies, the border of Israel failed over the weekend. And it failed on a religious holiday. 50 years almost to the day of another war, another invasion. All right, so it failed, apparently. A lot of Hamas terrorist groups, people from supported by Iran, apparently. That's what our people in the U.S. are saying, that Iran supported these terrorists and not allowed them to have the wherewithal, the planning, and the equipment to penetrate the impenetrable. Flying over in those big fans, those looks like shop fans, on the back of like the go-karts and wings, and flying in over the defenses, blowing holes in the walls, using drones to drop bombs, and then a bunch of people run into Israel and start kidnapping and mutilating and terrorizing the citizenry of Israel. Okay. First of all, it is what it is. I mean, first of all. So the first thing that comes out are a bunch of videos on Twitter, a bunch of videos on the internet about how all these horrific acts, all these things that were being done. All right. And then a lot of them, as everybody gets whipped up into, oh my God, level Palestine. So then it turns out, well, a lot of them were kind of fake videos that a lot of people posted either for purposeful disinformation, or they did it for a lot of, clickbait. In other words, people clicking on, oh shit, wrong window, idiot. People, they wanted people to click on it so they got more attention for their account. I mean, so there's that. Either way, it turns out a lot of them were fake videos from the past events, not even war events, celebrations in Algeria, all kinds of different things that they just reposted and said, look, this is what's happening in Israel. Oh, it's terrible. Okay, now there's some legitimate videos out there, but a lot of them were fake. And so that got people whipped up into a frenzy, making irrational decisions and coming out and saying irrational things. All right, so there's that. You got people whipped up. The other thing is, okay, Hamas, terrorist organization, all right, supported by Iran, nobody denies that. What just happened a couple of weeks ago? Didn't the Biden administration make some deal with Iran for 5 hostages, 5 Americans, and then part of that deal was $6 billion was released? It was frozen. Now Iran had access to $6 billion, and the thought at the time was, why are you doing this? This is a bad deal. They might use this for terrorist activity. Well, they're not going to do that. We're not going to let them do that. They can't do that. And then Iran said, we're going to use it for whatever we want. Okay, and so now you have Hamas, supported by Iran, that's what everybody says, you know, carrying out this operation over the weekend. And so the immediate reaction by people like Lindsey Graham, the Warhawk, and then another South Carolina, there must be a lot of military bases or military production or a military influence in South Carolina, because both senators, well, no, wait, she's not a senator anymore, she used to be. Anyway, Lindsey Graham, senator, and then former governor Nikki Haley, former ambassador to, you know, no man's land, Nikki Haley, they come out and, I mean, are just seething. Let's go to war. Let's go to war. Now she says, level them, destroy them, get rid of them. You need to end this. I mean, just vampire seething, just get to war. And Lindsey just laughing. Lindsey Graham, I love how Tucker Carlson points out, Lindsey Graham, who's 70 or almost 70 and has no kids, no wonder he doesn't care about war. He doesn't care about posterity. He has no legacy except what he's doing right now to enrich himself. There's something to be said about that. It's a good point. You know, don't be going and being a war hawk if you don't have any kids. I don't even know if you shouldn't even be talking about it, because you're talking about sending everybody else's children to die, and then you don't have any. You know, what right does that give you? You know, because you can't sympathize. And you don't care, Lindsey. Obviously, but he was just laughing, cackling. What we need to do, we need to go in, and if we find out Iran's behind it, we take out all their oil refining capabilities. Oh yeah, the money that we'll make. Oh, good, praise Jesus. That's what you're looking at. These sick pieces of filth, vampires. Can't wait to go to war. But guess what? It sounds like the U.S. probably funded the operation with the money. And if it wasn't the $6 billion that was just recently released to Iran, it was probably the billions in cash that landed on pallets in the Obama administration in Iran. What was that even for? And but guess what? Some of the weapons that might be getting used might be those weapons that happen to just get left, the billions and tens of billions of dollars in weapons that were left in Afghanistan. Remember that one? Yeah. We'll leave them there. What could go wrong? They could never fall into terrorist hands, could they? No, that would never happen. Oh, and it turns out some of those weapons ended up in Ukraine. It turns out maybe, I gotta block the sun. It turns out maybe some of those weapons that were in Ukraine came from Israel too. Sounds like we got a little coordinated war machine going here. And where does the money ultimately come from? That's what I talked about, I think, in the Thursday video. It comes from the U.S. It comes from the Federal Reserve. It comes from all the money, the war machine. The only thing we export is war and terror and tyranny. It comes from the U.S., the U.S. corporation, not the people, but the U.S. corporation. And the people, if you participate in the game, and if you're waving the flag right now to go to war, then you're part of the problem too. Absolutely are. So how easily you get whipped up into a new frenzy. Oh, we're going to learn from 9/11. We'll never let that happen again. We'll learn from COVID. We'll never let that happen again. We'll learn from Ukraine. That'll never happen again. And now this happens. You get whipped up emotionally into this stuff. Next thing you know, you're killing a bunch of people that probably shouldn't be killed. I mean, the only way to stop terror is to destroy terror. Okay, here's what happens. You go in, you're going to, okay, think if you're Palestine. I'm not taking sides on any of this. I think the U.S. should be completely disengaged from the whole thing. It's not our business. But the thing is, we made it our business by supporting all of this and funding both sides of the war at this point. Because, first of all, I just said, I outlined how all the money flowed and probably got into the hands of the terrorists. The terrorists. And now, and Israel's one of our biggest, I don't even know what you want to call it, kids in the candy shop when it comes to the United States supporting them. We support Israel with a bunch of money every year. Okay, so we're funding both sides of the war, basically. You know, we're funding the weapons to get in the hands of the terrorists, and, you know, they do bad things with it. And so Israel, who we support all the time, every year, out of every budget, they're going to go and retaliate. So we're funding both sides of the war, like it or not. So who's the bad guy here? All right. So think about it. You know, you got Israel going into Palestine, cutting off all supplies, cutting off water, electricity, doing all these things. It's like a big prison camp, Palestine is. Like 2 million people in the prison camp. And so they're cutting off all this stuff and they're going in and strategically bombing. Okay, you can't strategically bomb. There's going to be innocent people who are killed. You know, little kids that don't know any better, have no idea. Rockets rain down, building collapses, kills mommy and daddy. What do you think's going to happen to that little kid? That little kid's going to grow up hating Israel. He's going to be a Jew hater. Just saying. There ain't no way around it. No way. And you create a bunch of these, and if you don't completely kill the entire race, which, you know, they may want to do, but, you know, you can't always wipe them all out. All it takes is one person to walk in with a bomb and blow up Parliament, you know, something like that. So you're creating all these future terrorists so, you know, you can continue the madness going forward for the next couple of generations. That's all that's happening here. I'm not saying I have an answer to it. All I know is that we shouldn't be part of the problem. We shouldn't be complicit in this whole thing, which we completely are. And then immediately send warships over. We're sending warships over in support. Meanwhile, everybody forgets about Ukraine because that's run its course, and that was just a big show anyway. So we're not going to fund that anymore, apparently, because there's no support for it. But Israel, baby, everybody, we support Israel. RFK, we support Israel. We stand by our ally. Trump, we support Israel. Love Israel. The greatest nation ever. Love Israel. I support Israel. Biden didn't say anything, but people, you know, people on the left, on the right, whatever, in the uniparty, they're all supporting Israel, rallying. Jim Jordan, the first, if I'm speaker, the first issue at task is we need to address Israel. We need to, you know, whatever, basically fund it, send troops, send military, send hardware, send battleships, whatever we can do. Why? Why this big thing for Israel? I mean, they can... The weapons that they have, they don't need any help. Why are we getting involved in it? Why are we involved in any foreign entanglements? That's the problem. Get out of it. Stay out of it. Oh, and guess what? Now they're telegraphing that, well, the same thing's probably going to happen here in the United States. In the next 12 months, 14 months, these are the dates that are being thrown out by a bunch of people. Stay away from the big cities. You know, we've let the southern borders wide open, and, you know, all these military-age men have come in, and, man, somebody from Hamas or some other terrorist organization might already be here. There may be sleeper cells ready to act, just like they did in Israel this weekend. They might do it to us here in America, in the big cities. And they roll out the protests over the weekend, you know. Limited protests, nothing huge, but, you know, they show the one side waving the Palestinian colors and the other side waving the Israel, you know, flag. And it's just, I mean, they're fomenting this and creating it and wanting it to happen, preparing you for what they're going to do. They want to have terrorist strikes in cities. They want things to blow up. They want to have terror in the homeland, because that distracts you from everything else bad that they've done. It distracts you from the last 3 to 4 years of COVID. It just goes away. It distracts you from all the wasteful spending in the Ukraine war. It distracts you from all the money that got printed up. You know, the trillions of dollars, you know, a couple trillion that we just, you know, created this year. You know, $500 billion in the last month? I mean, they just created out of nothing. Well, now they'll have the excuse if we have terror in the homeland. Oh, it's just an existential threat that just manifested itself in this country. We had no idea something like this would happen. How could something like this happen? We need to create as much money as possible and go to war against the enemy, the unseen enemy. You know, all this is a rehash of the war on terror. Let's kick that one up again. I'm sitting in this smoky cigar room, back room. All right, what should we do next? Let's play the Armageddon card. You know, we haven't done that yet. Alien invasion or Armageddon card? Or let's maybe do both. Why not? Because then we got an unlimited enemy. We can't keep, you know, money. Can't create enough to fight that enemy. It's an unseen enemy. We don't know what the resources are. It's, you know, it's a shadow being. And so, yeah. And so they use this. And a lot of people are saying, well, this is fulfilling Bible prophecy. Here we are. It's the end times. Did you ever stop and think that maybe they're doing it on purpose because they've read the book too and they know the playbook? So you got a bunch of bad guys sitting around with a bunch of unlimited resources saying, you know what? Let's kick off Armageddon. Let's kick off the apocalypse. The revealing of knowledge. Let's have that, please. Let's have the revealing of truth. Have you ever thought about that? I mean, they can pull out all this other stuff. They can pull off 3 years of a pandemic. Don't you think that they can pull off Armageddon? You know, end times prophecies and make them come to fruition on purpose. So if you're rallying and saying, oh my gosh, this is it, you know, thank God, you know, it's over. Christ is coming back to save our butts. Just look at what's going on. Who's pulling the strings? If you're participating in it, if you're buying into this whole narrative, then you're part of the problem. Step back and realize that you're getting played once again. Again, and again, and again. How many times does it take before first of all, you just shut your mouth and step back and say, all right, what's really going on here? Instead of getting out there and saying, burn it all down, make it a parking lot, destroy them, bad guys, we good, they bad. I mean, come on, you don't have to pick a side in the human war, in the human narrative. Sometimes it's best to just get out of the way and see how it unfolds and realize what's really going on. And as this goes forward, I'm going to see what's really going on. Right now, in the heat of the moment, but I see a lot of people coming out saying, this doesn't add up. So you're saying Egypt told Israel that this was probably going to happen, and Israel just said, meh. Sounds like Pearl Harbor. Sounds like we've done this before. Sounds like 9/11. Oh, we had no idea that planes and aircraft would ever be used to blow up buildings. Meanwhile, they're running drills the same day. You know, the same kind of event. I had no idea that anything like this would happen. They know exactly what's going to happen, and they know the perfect time to pull it off or allow it to happen. Either way, it doesn't matter. They knew it was coming. It served their advantage, so they let it happen and ran with it. They wouldn't do that to their own citizens. Give me a break. They tried to kill all of you by putting... You don't think that, you know, just that the omelets aren't more important than the eggs? They're going to crack all the eggs they need to make that omelet. You're the egg, and they're eating the omelet. Don't be breakfast for a vampire. All right, that's all I have. I could talk crypto. I could talk about all the things. You know, watch, oil will go to $150 a barrel now because, you know, we'll engage Iran or some, you know, it's in Cliff Eye's data from a long time ago that Israel would make a big mistake, I think, by hitting Iran and then suffer the consequences of it. It's going to be major blowback. If that happens, I got to go read Cliff's data points from that same time period to see what else was supposed to manifest. Don't get gamed. How do you not get gamed? You don't play in the vampire casino. Exit the vampire casino. They're controlling everything. They're controlling the narrative. They're controlling, you know, when that wheel stops, when those wheels stop in the slot machine. They're controlling it all. They're controlling the money that you use in there. It's all fake. It's their poker chips. Guess what? Quit using their poker chips, U.S. Federal Reserve note. Exit that vampire casino. Take your energy with you. Quit playing. And then put that energy into something else that's more valuable that you can use. That can be anything. That can be crypto. That can be gold. That can be silver. That can be food. That can be seeds, heirloom seeds. Can be anything you're going to need to live and survive and live a somewhat happy life, hopefully. Quit playing. You're just getting played if you're in that casino. All right. Don't be the omelet for breakfast. I love you all. I really do. And that's just how I see it. So hope you have a wonderful Tuesday. 10-10-23. Always trust yourselves. Trust yourself. Don't trust the narrative. All right. Love you all.